sorry. I hit mute on my mic there. But yes, thanks for the heads up there. Yeah, so Star Tropics 2. This is quite similar, but also different from Star Tropics 1. And we're going to see how that works, especially when we get to the action phases of this game. This takes place roughly 6 months after Star Tropics. And hopefully this is all going through now. Yeah. Anyway, so we basically solved the cipher from the last game, and that has caused basically the spell to be chanted properly and send us through time. So we're gonna travel through time in this game and try to recover what are called tetrads, which are quite rad indeed. Yeah, thanks for the luck. I appreciate that. Again, sorry about that mix-up with the audio there. So the first chapter here is like in the prehistoric era. We're gonna walk in a very specific way through this snowfield because there are little pits that you can fall in, which are basically they're similar to like a random encounter, but they're not random at all. They're just in very set locations. So now we've made our way into this cave, where we're going to get our first weapon, which is an axe. From Tink here, who may or may not be Link's ancestor or something like that. Yeah, so then we're going to progress to the first dungeon here, and you'll see how it works a lot differently from Star Tropics 1. And there's a trick that I'm going to execute near the start of this dungeon called a Void Walk. We use Void Walks in this game to skip a lot of parts of the dungeons to get through them faster. But they're very particular, so I'm going to focus a little bit once I get to that point. Because I've been messing it up a lot recently. So as you can see, we can move and fire on angles. We're not locked to the grid, but enemies are, which gives us a little bit of an advantage. But also, when they hit us, they hit hard, and we have like no iframes, which is kind of trade-off. So here's my Void Walk. There we go. So that's a particular setup where you need to essentially you need to take damage the same time you land on a void tile, which is anything that's like a pit or water. And if you take damage at the exact same frame, you will be able to walk on that void tile and use it to kind of jump past certain obstacles. We're going to kill these bears, take 8 axes each. Ow! And that one swiped me. I thought I was going to kill it fast enough. And that's unfortunate because, again, in this game, so similar to Dungeon 7-2, you want to have as much health at the end of every dungeon you can. I'm going a particular path through this maze. Back in that cave that we were in, where we were talking to the cavemen, this is the sequence that you need to memorize on the wall, but I just have it memorized from when I was a kid, so it's always the same kind of pathway. But yeah, so basically you get a health refill at the end of every dungeon. So having low health at the end of a dungeon costs time. Fight our first boss here, which isn't really so much a fight as a slaughter. We're just going to let him focus on his food and kind of hit him with the axe over and over again. And he's not even going to get a chance to move before he dies. So that was Yum Yum. And he's very, very focused on his meals, I guess. But yeah, that's the first dungeon. And essentially the first chapter. Yeah, so I'm going to try to do a skip here called Shorty Skip. It involves pressing select frame perfectly, which I missed, which can basically make you skip this dialogue sequence to save you like 4 seconds or something like that. But I missed it, and usually when I get it, I then mess it up because there's a second step anyway. And there's our first tetrad, which looks, I'm sure, very familiar. They call it a block, but it will be called a tetrad again in a moment here. Once we exit the cave and get contacted by Mika, one of the aliens that we saved at the end of Star Tropics 1. But yeah, so she mentions that there are these tetrads, which are the legacy of the Argonians, and they must be found. But we just found one, luckily, because we got sent back to the proper point in time, which is the whole point of that spell, sending us through the book, through the pages of the book to those very specific eras. As you can see, this is my health refill, which normally wouldn't take as long, but I got swiped by that bear, which does a lot of damage, unfortunately. So, yeah, every heart is basically a second lost. But yeah, so then we're gonna again travel through time and go to our next chapter here. Similar to Star Tropics 1, Chapter 3, which we're on now, is the longest one, with multiple dungeons. Very, very similar in that respect. But yeah, it takes place in Egypt. And the overworld has some bopping music, which we're going to actually get to hear for a while, which is nice. There are a lot of really good overworld tunes in this game. Actually, the game has really good OST in general, but we don't hear a lot of the overworld stuff in the speedrun because we get through it so fast. But the Egypt one, we get to hear a lot, and it's a good one. But yeah, so we're going to talk to Cleopatra and explain the tetrad thing. She says she knows about this tetrad, but I want my pizza. She says she ordered a pizza from Italy, and it's taken forever. So please find it. And if you get me the pizza, I'll take you to the tetrad. Yes, this game is a little bit goofier than Star Tropics 1 in dialogue and tone. Has a lot of like weird stuff like that, but yeah. Still a great game with good humor. But yeah, a lot of people haven't played this game because it was released in 1994, which is far past when the Super Nintendo was there. Oh, I almost walked in that Cyclops. So those Cyclops enemies basically act the same as the bears, except they try to stab you with a knife instead of just swipe at you. I'm going to try to... These enemies basically will roll and become invincible if you get in line with them. Oh, there's that one. We have 3 Cyclopses in this room, which are acting strangely. I take 8. This guy should have been walking towards me, but he's just kind of walking back and forth, up and down for some reason. Don't know why that is. Gotta kill these scorpions. We're gonna do a trick coming up called a corner jump, where you use a corner to push you a little bit extra when you jump, which can let you cross a 2-tile gap. It's very particular, so I'm going to focus on it. She's coming up in this next room. If I don't get it, then I'll just skip it the next time. Yep, I just didn't press up. So we're just going to skip it. I'll come back and do that room the normal way. I just didn't press up at all. So normally what you do is you press up there and it will kind of shunt you to the side of the wall. Yeah, I just didn't get the input, unfortunately. But we get to, there's another one later on that we get to show off, so we're gonna be walking around. It doesn't really cost that much time, thankfully. Just kind of go around there. Yeah, and then something else that's really cool is that you can see that rooms have like a depth to them, where there are like platforms that are higher higher on a Z-axis, so that's something else that this game has over Star Tropics 1. We're just gonna kill a scorpion. Every time you attack one of her like baby scorpions, she gets annoyed and shoots projectiles at you. But there's a blind spot when she shoots the projectiles you can just stand in and keep attacking her from. So you can kind of use that to your advantage. Because it keeps her still for a moment, you can just keep attacking her. And that's it for the first dungeon of Chapter 3. And we've met this guy. We say, we're seeking pizza. And he says, I got a camel that can take you to the pizza. So you ride a camel to get the pizza. Which is obviously being delivered very slowly by this this guy in a turtle, which is obviously a cameo from a Koopa Troopa. Yeah, so we're gonna take the pizza from him and take it back to Cleopatra. Which will just we just kind of like arrive there again, similar to Chapter 3 and Star Tropics 1. It just puts you kind of back at your destination. And Cleopatra is gonna just destroy this whole pizza. She's not even gonna share a slice with Mike. Unfortunately. Ordered it straight from Caesar's hut. And then we're going to talk to Cleopatra, and she says she's going to take us to where the Tetrad is and basically take us across the Nile here using her ship. And once we arrive here, she mentions, oh, that the Tetrad's in this pyramid to the south. By the way, I've got this dagger. I'll trade you your axe for this dagger that I have, which will help you. You can actually get that weapon upgrade earlier using a secret path on the other side. Like, you can get it right before the first dungeon I just did there. But it's not worth it to get it in the speed run because it doesn't save enough time to make it worth grabbing. So now we're going to go through this weird like hedge maze area, and we're going to basically try to track down that monkey who's going to give us a power so that we can actually progress in the pyramid. If we go to the pyramid right now, we'll be stopped by a little barrier, like a force field, which looks a lot like the force field to Great Palace in Zelda 2. But we're going to get something here that's going to help us get through. There's a way to skip this whole dungeon with an interesting setup that basically triggers a long warp. I have never practiced it yet, so obviously we're not going to do it. But it is possible to do. There are a few wrong warps in this game, and we will make use of one later on. Much later on in the game. So that's our first dungeon for this this like hedge maze area. Kind of memorizing these mazes is a pain, but you get the hang of them every so often once you've gone through them a few times. I try not to bonk, but I very often bonk. Lots of really good dungeon tunes in this chapter. Honestly, like I mentioned, this game's soundtrack is really, really good. We don't need those hearts because there's some hearts in the next room here. And that will put us up to full hearts. We can kind of cut corners by doing diagonal jumps, which helps to kind of speed things up whenever you're in like a path like that. Jump over that jelly. And then this next field is the last one we need to do. So we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then down. And there's like a little dip-de-doo there. Go left from that path there. Go north of the ladder. So normally you would stand on those platforms, and it gives you like a layout. It shows you like a brief layout of where you are, and you can kind of plot your path. But we just kind of try to memorize it here. And then we've reached this monkey, to which Mike says, "I'll be a monkey's uncle," which is very, very funny. But the monkey's going to give us this thing called the Psychic Shockwave, which is going to let us break that barrier down. No, the dip-de-doo, not the do-do-do, the dip-de-doo. So this shockwave is a permanent weapon, which we get. So we do get weapon degradation in this game, similar to Star Tropics 1. But only on our psychic attack. We upgrade it as we go through the game. But our like blade, like our knife that we upgrade, that upgrade is permanent, so you don't lose that as you lose health. Certain enemies can only be killed by the psychic shockwave, so that's why I switched to it for those zombies. Those platforms they look like you can walk off them, but you can't. There are moving ones later that you can walk off of, which are very scary, but you only see them a few times, luckily. Yeah, we use the shockwave to kill this guy, and then maybe also this snake. Actually, it's also good for these skeletons. These are very similar to the blood skeletons in Castlevania, where they'll just constantly reanimate after being hit. And they can't actually be killed. Ugh. We see the mummies for the first time in this room, which are a lot larger. They've been working out. But they're not nearly as bad as the ones in Star Tropics 1. Okay. We can manipulate these skull bugs in a similar way to the dodos and such from Star Tropics 1, where they'll charge you. Ugh. So you can kind of lure them to sides of the room to kill them closer to the exit, sort of thing. Keep a note of that snake room. It is important for a puzzle. Which we're going to see here in a moment. There's like a medicine here. Which we're just going to snag. This is a nice, quick safety medicine to grab, because you can lose a lot of health in this dungeon if it just goes wrong. So yeah, something to note is that iframes in this game are very, like, you don't get many of them. When you take a hit from something, usually you'll get hit again, because it's very hard to move away from the enemies. So I'm going to play this flute I picked up in the snake room, and that's going to charm these snakes coming out of the wall. Cool little puzzle. And then we can kind of move along these platforms. I'm actually cutting it really close there. So the platforming is actually, like, it doesn't look very precise, but it is. If you're even a pixel off of, like, the collision at all, you will just die. And Mike's movement is very particular. The collision of a platform is not entirely well indicated. So it's very easy to actually to die in this game just by accidentally misinputting and moving like a pixel too far to one side when you're trying to make a jump. So there's our second Tetrad. And with that, we are now on to Chapter 4. Which takes place in London. But yeah, so aside from that that unfortunate mishap with the corner jump that I was trying to do, this run's going pretty smooth so far. In Chapter 4, the first dungeon of Chapter 4 is where I can potentially show off the other corner jump that we use. And I will do it because it skips basically half the dungeon, so it's worth it to try it a couple times no matter what. And hopefully I'll just get it on the first try, but we will try for it a couple times. Talk to Sherlock Holmes here, who says he knows about some no-good rascal named Zoda X, who's gonna steal something from the museum at midnight. A darn rascal, the darn rascal who slaughters alien races. What a rascal. So we're gonna make our way to the museum. Let's pet the dog. There you go. I'm gonna talk to this police officer here who he's like, it's a bit late for you to be going to the museum. Go to jail. And you just walk out of jail because it's not very well reinforced. You talk to that prisoner, he's like, it's impossible to get out of here. But you just walk through the wall. That looks like a zombie, but it's just a sleepwalker. Just meant to like freak you out for a moment. And now we have arrived at the museum, which is very large. And as we can see, there's the Tetrad. But Zoda's going to just show up and yoink. Just take it away. And so Sherlock says he'll head him off, and I'm supposed to give chase. So we're going to follow Zoda into the dirty little sewers. And this is where we start to see our first moving platforms I was talking about earlier. And again, you can just walk off of these things, and the collision is very, like, not obvious. You can be what looks like halfway on it and still fall off. I'm going to try the corner jump in this room here. We got it. So as you can see, I pressed up and it kind of shunted me over a little extra pixel, which put me up on that platform. Normally you have to go all the way to the right and around a whole bunch of rooms and do an extra, like, half of this dungeon. Basically an extra, like, 5 rooms or something like that. Whoop. Took a little hit from that wrap. It's okay, they only do half the part, so they're not too bad. I just gotta kill these enemies in this room. I said we gotta kill the enemies in this room. Jellyfish, thank you very much. And these owls also must die. Just killing random wildlife. They're gonna fight this ball of Zoda spawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which I have to count for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1. You basically have to fight it as those platforms are appearing in a ring around it, which it can be like pretty stressful. But it only takes 16 hits, so as long as you count 5 on the first 3 blocks and then hit it the last time, you're good. Now, notably, a lot of bosses in this game, so in Star Tropics 1, bosses do, when you touch them, they'll just kill you, no matter what. In this game, most bosses don't do that. They have, like, they'll do damage to you, but they won't kill you outright. But that thing will, because it hides the button underneath it. And if you could just basically damage boost through it to hit the button, you would just skip the boss fight. So they made it so that... Oh. Get back here, you... Oh! But they made it so that you have to kill it. Ugh. These rats are very similar to those bears as well. But yeah, and also that boss from the last one, it will start to, if you wait too long, it will start to freak out and just shoot like mad around the room. So luckily it doesn't do it for a good while. But yeah, something to keep in mind. I'm gonna use these discs, kill these, I call them spinach monsters because they look like piles of spinach that are floating around. Whoop. This disc weapon, the spiked disc, is one of the most powerful ones in the game. So we're going to use it a lot in this dungeon. We get another set of them later on, which we're going to hopefully kill the boss with pretty smoothly. And this room is just like basically an auto-scroller. See, I almost walked off that raft there at the bottom. I almost died. Luckily, this is a checkpoint. There's also a little sign there that gives you extra lives. So once you hit this checkpoint, you're basically clear. You're basically waiting for these rafts. There's nothing we can do to speed this up. It'd be nice if we could void walk in this room, but we can't because there's no enemies to like take damage on. So we can't even set anything like that up. Yeah, I love this track. Lots of great tunes in this game, like I mentioned. Oh, I didn't think I would good land on. We don't have to kill those Zoda spawn, so we'll just progress here. Now we're at the boss. Here's Zoda X. We're just gonna load up with these. Oh, nice! We got one cycle. That's pretty sweet. So if he does that attack that he just did, where he kind of does the Richard Nixon pose and summons those flames, you can potentially one cycle him if you attack at the right pace. And we did, so that's good. He can also do another attack where he launches these. He does like a quick spread fire of these like skull-shaped bullets. And you cannot one cycle that because he just disappears too quickly. But yeah. So there's our next Tetrad. That was quite a smooth London, I must say. Pretty happy with that. Now we're gonna talk to our old buddy Sherlock, and we tell him about the Tetrads and all this stuff. He's like, "Oh, since there's a Zoda X, there must be a Zoda Y and a Zoda Z." And then Mike's like, "Don't worry, Sherlock. I got it from here." And he disappears into his time-traveling book. As teenagers do. But yeah. So that's basically the first like half of the game. There's 9 chapters in this game. This chapter here has a lot of tricky stuff in it. The dungeons in Chapter 5 are definite potential run killers when you're doing an actual speed run. But yeah, it can definitely ruin you here. But we're basically in the Wild West here. We're going to go talk to one particular character who's in this building here. He's going to tell us that there was a Tetrad in the mines. And if you could like blast into the mines, then maybe you could get it. But he doesn't remember exactly where it is, so he says, "Good luck." So then we're gonna walk back south and go to Bob's store. And old Bobby boy is just gonna give us some sticks of dynamite. He's gonna say, "Hello, teenager. Have some dynamite. This'll get you started," he says. He says if you strike gold, bring it back, and he'll buy it. And then you can get extra points and stuff that way, but it's not really useful. It's also a big heart in the mountains here. But again, big hearts are not really useful in this because again you just get them at the end of a chapter anyway. But yeah, so we're gonna place the dynamite here specifically. Normally you figure that out by listening to something called the cactus dance, which tells you gives you a hint for where to blow a hole in the wall. But we just kind of memorize it. And now we're into the first dungeon of Chapter 5. So these scorpions fire a double shot like that. And it's a pretty quick shot, and they're just very annoying. These cactus dudes are similar to the Rockies from the first game. I'm gonna generally avoid them. These boulders, again, we're just gonna avoid. This is actually quite a quick little dungeon, as long as you get through it on the first go. But yeah, these guys split into 4 once they're killed, and those projectiles can do damage to you. Snakes in this game are very annoying and unpredictable. I definitely hate them a lot. They're really cool. I love how they move, because they move very snake-like. I also hate these coins, because they're incredibly quick and hard to hit sometimes. Yeah, now we're on to the boss of this dungeon here. You have to just hit with anything, as long as he'll just kind of like move that boulder up and down. And it'll block attacks, but you just have to kind of spam him a little bit. You can also do a void walk on that boss to skip him entirely, which ends up saving like 7 or 8 seconds, I believe. But I learned it a good while ago, but it's fucking not marathon safe. Sorry for the swearing, but it's just not. If that's my one swear word of the night, it's because that's not marathon safe. So we're just gonna not do that. We're gonna talk to this donkey, who gives you an upgrade to your shockwave. Got this theme of animals giving us psychic powers, and now we have this kind of better shockwave that we can use. Has a little bit more range, does more damage, and it's generally very good. We want to kind of have it as much as possible because it's got very good DPS. Don't shoot me. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna jump off the conveyor belt here. I'm honestly just gonna shoot. Well, okay, we'll just walk by that. These cactus dudes, I was hoping to sneak by them. It's kind of hard to get by that second one because you don't really know what it's gonna do. But it's okay. We're gonna actually hit these treasure chests with one dagger and then switch to the shockwave to spam those coins. Also, this is the best tune in the game, in my opinion. It's really, really awesome. Really great dungeon theme. Probably one of my favorite themes on the NES. Just gonna wait for this rock to pass and go through here. Look at these cactus guys, and then we have a mid-boss coming up, which really sucks. It's this minecart boss who shoots stuff and drops enemies, and is just generally awful to deal with. A lot of the Star Tropics 2 runners call this the worst room in the game, and it can go very badly. And again, it's another like run-determining room. Oh. Die, Scorpion. So if that minecart gets out of hand, it can just ruin your run. We're gonna see these like these ghost miners here. We don't have a way to kill them. There's no mirror in this game, so you can't reflect anything. But we just dodge them, it's fine. These snakes. Thought I was gonna get past that one before it reacted to me. And we're almost at the boss here. I picked up something earlier that we're gonna use against the boss, which is a big star. And I bet you can't imagine what a big star does in a Nintendo game. But it makes you invincible. And so we're just gonna spam the mashing miner, as he's called, using our invulnerability, and kill him very easily. But yeah, that was decent chapter 5. We don't have too much of a health deficit, which is nice. I don't really know how that happened, but yeah. I thought I was going to take more damage in that mid-boss room because he lasted so long, but there's our next Tetrad, which is the stick, the eyepiece, aka the hero. And now we're going to move on to our next chapter here. Basically, as soon as you have a Tetrad, every chapter essentially ends. So. But yeah, so the next area that we're going to go to is Italy, and the overworld theme in Italy is very nice. I've always loved the overworld theme in this area. We don't get to hear it too long, but we do get to hear like a pretty good length of it, so it's quite nice. Yeah, so now we're in the back half of the game. Yeah, we don't really need to talk to anyone here. The only thing we need to hope is that one particular NPC kind of doesn't get in our way, which he often does. Jack Black there, yeah, he walked in our way. And so we're going to make our way to this house over here, which is the house of some kind of famous artist. And we're going to go into his basement. And we're going to see all sorts of horrors. This is Leonardo da Vinci's house. I'm going to try a void walk here. Which we got. We basically take damage from that ball at the same time as landing on the void, and we can then do a void walk there, which is nice. Yeah, this is Leonardo da Vinci's basement. I like to call him a ball aficionado. He's got a lot of balls in his basement. He's got those spinning balls. He's got these balls with spikes, and he's got some really annoying balls that we're gonna have to manipulate coming up here, which is one of the biggest like time sinks in this game if you don't know the room, which I'm out of practice on it, so it's gonna be a struggle. Well. So you got to basically move into these holes. This room is very tricky. We're just kind of... I'm just trying not to take damage at this point. There's a very specific setup that you can do in this room. Do it very quickly. Actually, that was not bad. I will absolutely take that second ballroom any day during a marathon. Yeah, there's a setup you can do for that second room, which gets rid of it, clears a room very quickly if you do it properly, but it's very, very precise. But yeah, so now we found a hammer and a chisel, because apparently every time Da Vinci has to go get his hammer and chisel, he has to go through his ball torture chamber. And yeah, we're gonna basically chisel him out of this plaster that he's been trapped in. And he mentions that what happened is some monsters showed up and coated him in plaster, and then bailed. And that monster was, of course, Dirty Zoda. And now we're going to basically mess up time entirely by changing the hairstyle of the Mona Lisa. And old Leo here is also going to give us a katana, which is certainly not a Ninja Turtles reference of any kind. And he's also going to lend us his little airship. He's very nice. So we can go and find the Tetrad. Yeah, Mika says that aliens came to Sea Island and basically took Dr. J, hypnotized him. Basically just being jerks. But yeah, so we are progressing. There's this island here that you don't really have to explore. There's a big heart there, but in the speed run, we just ignore it. And then we get to this island here, which I believe is it's supposed to be Crete, because you go into this kind of labyrinthine area, and I think it's supposed to be like the Crete labyrinth. And in this area, we're going to take a very specific path. There are like random, not random, but like set tiles that you can fall into, which trigger a dungeon. But we're going to go a very specific way so we minimize the number of dungeons we go to. There are 2 that we have to do. So those are just like kind of mandatory. And the dungeons themselves are actually randomized. So this one can be one of any 4 layouts. And we got a pretty good one here. We just got to kill these Zoda spawn. That's our first required dungeon there. Could move 2 left here and then down to dodge any pits in that room. And then there's 1 more here that I didn't have to do. Kill that red spinach monster. Then we take the north exit because that's the one that basically lines up with where we have to go. These skulls are not really giving me a good pattern. And then, just so you know, there's going to be a photosensitivity warning coming up, and it's quite bad. So I made sure to remember way ahead of time. After I grab this tetrad, Zoda's going to show up, and it's just bad. If you have photosensitivity issues, this is one of the worst ones. Definitely avoid it. Yeah, so we got the tetrad. Honestly, chapter 6 is pretty straightforward, unless you accidentally go into pits. But yeah. So like there's that one, and there's more. There's a lot more of this photosensitivity problem here. But yeah, it's probably one of the worst instances of it on the NES. There's even more, so watch out. Okay, now it's over. There's no more photosensitivity issues now. At least not for a while. But yeah, so basically Zoda has sent us into Transylvania. He said he's going to send us to where the Count stalks his victims in the night. And we're going to go through this really cool dungeon. I've always loved Chapter 4. Or, sorry, not Chapter 4, Chapter 7. I really love this dungeon, and it's got that really awesome dungeon music that I like. And when you're learning this dungeon, like when you go through this dungeon the first time you play the game, it's very convoluted, and you gotta really kind of use your brain. And the speedrun is just a fun dungeon to execute. I just love it. We're gonna kill these Frankensteins. They split into pants once you attack them once. And then they start running around. Ouch. Ah! And they're pretty tough to hit. These rooms, there are some ghosts that appear, and you have to kill the odd-colored ghost in order to progress. We're going to manipulate one to appear right in front of me here. And then that will open up this wall. Oh. I forgot about this room. Yeah, we got to kill the zombies with the shockwave still. Fight this gravestone ghost, which you got to hit in the back, similar to a dark nut. And every time you attack it, except it didn't do it there. Generally, when you attack it, it will fire back at you. But for some reason, there was one point where it didn't do it there. You can come over here and get a sub-weapon called a three-way shot. It's very, very useful for killing the bats in this dungeon. Noctos, which return from Star Tropics 1. Oh, we got 2 for there. That's nice. Just gonna kill one of those zombies. You can do a void walk in this room, but it only saves like a second, so it's not really a huge deal. These enemies drop these explosive balls, and they take a lot of hits, so they're a pain to kind of deal with. That actually went pretty smooth. Oh man, 2 more twofers. We're gonna fight a wizard here. I don't know if these are supposed to be dim hags from the first Star Tropics, or if they're completely different. He just kind of moves randomly. And when you attack those bubbles, they launch at you, so you really don't want to hit them. Hence why I was kind of taking my time there. Use a three-way shot to kill these bats. And we're gonna try to kill this dude with this sword. And now we're in the last room of the dungeon. Oh, we got 3 for... Man, that's some good back killing, I'm not gonna lie. And now we're at the boss of this dungeon, which is Zoda Y. Just didn't like the angle that was coming at me at. Oh, I just walked in the spikes, that was pretty cool. So what's going to happen here is, well, kill Zoda, but he's going to turn into like another beast, this like bird, moth hybrid thing. And so he'll send out these bats, but also try to kind of blow us back into the spikes back there. As you can see. And that's it for that. So I've got a medicine which I'm going to use because it's going to refill my hearts faster than the tetrad will once we pick it up. And that's it for chapter 7. Again, I really love that dungeon. It's a really fun one to execute. There's a lot of enemies in it that can kind of behave badly, but overall I find it just a really fun one to make your way through. Now we're heading on to chapter 8, and we're very near the end of the game. And chapter 8 takes place in Camelot. So we show up in this very knightly area, lush greenery all around us, very heroic theme, and we're gonna go talk to King Arthur here. Just gonna walk into his castle. No one's gonna stop me. Just gonna walk in and walk straight up to the king, and no one's gonna attack us, which I'm sure is very normal. And he says, "Mike, I need some help. Merlin told us to expect you. There's this mean, terrible dragon. Can you kill it for us?" And then he knights you, and you get an extra heart. It's like, "Good luck killing that dragon." And you're like, "Okay. I'm sorry that the dragon was mean to you." I picture the dragon just like calling him names or something. Yeah, and then once you talk to King Arthur, then you just can progress to the dungeon here. Zaddy Arthur, yeah, zesty Daddy Arthur. So here we need to kill these blobs. And once you do that, you'll sink through the floor and you need to land on this platform, which we did. And the same thing happens up here. So we're going to kill this green bomb dropping dork if he decides to behave properly. And we need to fall here. We're going to fight these knights. Which, yeah, so every so often they'll shoot a spread shot. These cross-shaped projectiles. They're not too bad, but we got some, there are worse variants of those coming out. So here we're going to go up and down to avoid these knives that come through the ground. Then we're going to go down, up. Then we're going to go straight through here. Kind of cut Mike in half. We're going to fight the first boss of this chapter, which is Knight Rider. Which we're going to do a very particular setup. Try to end this annoying battle as soon as possible. Pretty good. So yeah, that boss can it's just annoying. It can get out of hand and just be annoying. And can be a really huge time sink. But luckily that went pretty smooth. And then we're gonna come up here and we're gonna talk to another animal. An owl. Which means we're getting an upgrade. But then it turns out that it's actually Merlin in disguise who's been following us through time and space and upgrading our psychic powers. He's friends with Hirokon, who's like the leader of the Argonians and Mika's father. And he's basically helping us find the Tetrads. He's actually who you see on the... it's interesting, he's what you see on the game over screen. So the whole time through the game, you're like getting... First time through, when you get a game over, you're just like, who is this old guy? Like, who's this wizard? You don't really find out until way later in the game what his deal is. So now I've got the Ultra Psychic Shockwave, which has the best DPS in the game, and fires across the whole room, which we're going to try to just maintain as much as possible. To spam enemies to death. Like the Zoda here. We're gonna kind of just linger on this side and spam these knights. Star Tropics 2 is definitely a lot more action heavy than Star Tropics 1. Like, it has its puzzly moments and stuff, but it's definitely a lot more shooty. We'll grab these hearts because they're right there. These big blobs split into 3 once you kill them, so... we're just gonna try and... Hopefully, that worked out pretty well, actually. The Rockies in this game split into 8 once you've killed them. And the patterns that they explode in, like, they can shoot rocks at various different angles, so you really have to watch it. This room, there's actually a void walk for it that saves a good amount of time, but it's very hard to execute, to the point where it's really not recommended to even do it. If you mess it up, then you'll probably die. I got a couple knights in here. This is where you first see the gold knights, so as you can see, he's got a shield on the front of him. Means you can't hit him from the front. And these things move very randomly, so you just kind of have to hope that they face the wrong way so that you can hit them. You can't really manipulate them at all. They're very, very annoying enemies. Now we're kind of in the last third of this dungeon. Oh, man, good shot. Good shot, Zoda, you got me. We got 2 golden knights here. Yeah, they'll basically, like, as you're shooting them, they'll just, like, walk towards you. It's really annoying. And then usually when you adjust, that's when they move, and then it just messes everything up. Get those hearts, may as well. Excuse me, Rocky. It's just, like, sidestepping my shots. And yeah, when they fire those projectiles, you can't damage them. Like, it kind of gives them a little bit of invulnerability. That was actually really fast for him. It's the last room before the boss. Blob. There we go, just grab this last medicine, may as well. And the dragon, you have to shoot him in the face. Which means jumping and shooting. When he's like this, he does lean down and shoot fire. With the right timing, you can get 3 hits in every jump. But it's very precise. There we go. He didn't even... Sometimes he just doesn't even shoot fire. He just walks menacingly. Yeah, that was a pretty smooth Chapter 8 overall. Can't really complain about that. Cannot complain about that. Yeah, he'll also fly around the room and launch all those little fireballs and stuff. But that's not really too bad to deal with. And yeah, it's our final Tetrads that boost our health to its maximum. Mike is not able to put the Tetrads together. Can't figure it out. So we have to talk to Mika here. And she's like, there's stuff going on in Sea Island. You gotta help us. So now Mike travels back to Sea Island. Using the Oxford Wonder World, which is the name of this book, which I think I forgot to mention until now. Yeah, and then you get this really cool revisit to Sea Island. It's awesome. You end this game where you start Tropics 1, and it's just like this really neat, like... That's really neat. The dungeon's like a little bit different. Well, actually, it's a lot different, but the rooms that you revisit are a little bit different and everything like that. The music remix is awesome, which you're going to see in a moment here. Everyone's turned into pigs, except for this guy who is away fishing. Luckily for him. He says there's all these, like, noises coming from this tunnel. So we're going to go in. And we're going to listen to this bot. I'm going to try to get a swag shot on this. Oh! Missed it. If you jump and fire two things there, you kill that blob almost immediately, and it's awesome. It's just like this really... It's one of the room strats that just feels really good to execute. But I messed it up. Sorry, chat. So we're going along this top of this room here. Again, these are all familiar rooms to us. Just gotta kill the rats in this room. There are some rooms that are missing. It's like a shortened version. Once we get up to the boss room here, we're actually going to encounter Sea Serpent again. And you actually skip him in this game as well, which I'm going to try to do. I was practicing it beforehand, so I think I have it figured out, but we'll see what happens here. There we go. So you just you get hit by that first flame, and then you land on one of his other fireballs, which gives you a void walk to skip him. So it's funny because you don't fight Sea Serpent in either Star Tropics 1 or Star Tropics 2 when you're speedrunning them. Then we have this strange map, or the strange little maze here. Where we actually get to do a boss rush, so we fight like all the main bosses. So we're actually going to see Yum Yum do something here. This is normally what he does if you attack his wild boar and make him mad. Which is very hard to deal with at the start of the game, so we obviously don't do that. We're going to just kind of stand in one place and blast the scorpion, because you can stall it by killing those babies at the start, and it literally just moves in such a way that you can just spam it to death. Same with the monster mask refight. We're just going to stand at the bottom here and just spam. Hope that it kind of stops there. And again, you can kind of just, as long as you stay like one tile to the side of it, you're pretty much fine. Now we're going to fight Zoda X again. We're going to hope that he gives us a pattern where we can shotgun him with the... the conveyor moved me into him, but you basically want to shotgun him with the with a 3-way shot to do as much damage as possible. I'm going to refight the Mashing Miner, and then we've got Zoda Y after that. And if all goes well, Zoda Y will be our last boss that we see. Normally you fight an end boss, who is Zoda Z. But there's actually a way to skip the dragon refight as well as the final boss. So I'm going to do my best to execute that. If I mess it up, then we get the Zoda Z DLC. So he'll appear in the center now. There we go. So those are very specific pause buffers. So basically when you pause the game, you then immediately hold pause again to unpause it as soon as possible. And it lines you up with the proper damage frames to take damage from Zoda as you jump over and get to this side. I'm going to hold left here, which will let us... uh-oh. Okay, I don't know. That was weird. Okay, so there's 2 potential wrong warp tiles in that room. I don't know why that one was there, because normally what happens... Oh, I talked to Mika. I didn't mean to do that. I was distracted by what just happened there. So normally what happens is, before you enter this dungeon, you talk to the fishing guy from the left, which I swear I did. And then it makes it so that the wrong warp tile is closer to you. Otherwise, it's on the other side of the room. So I'm glad I was able to find it. And that's time right there. So that puts us at a 101.46. I'll play out the ending here. There's photosensitivity warnings here with yeah, I'm glad I remember the backup. There's Fulco. Fulco routes and finds all this stuff. But yeah, that was very strange. I swear I talked to him from the right side. But anyway, these are going to get put together, and I guess I'll take this time to just talk about Star Tropics a little bit. This series is awesome. If you have not played Star Tropics 1 and 2, like, definitely play them. There is some unfair stuff at times, but they are absolutely great experiences. Star Tropics 1 and 2 are some of the best games on the system. There's the flow sensitivity I was talking about. Thanks for GGs, everyone. And if you want to get into speedrunning, we do have a Discord, which is just like a general... It's not even necessarily a Star Tropics speedrunning Discord. It's like just a Star Tropics Discord where we just talk about Star Tropics. We like it. But there's a lot of helpful people. There's guides, more close sensitivity, sorry, forgot. And it makes it very approachable. They're very rewarding to learn. They are tough at first, but they're definitely fun and rewarding to learn, in my opinion. So, of course, I'm kind of biased, so... But yeah, that's the end of Star Tropics 2. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed everything. Thank you very much, Retrothon, for having me, and for having me, RGL TV, I guess I should say, for having me on Retrothon. It's always a blast writing stuff for Retrothon. It's pretty cool that you lined me up for a block of all these games in a row. It was really fun. Yeah, thanks to everyone in chat for the support and all that stuff. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of the marathon. There's all sorts of really cool stuff lined up for the remainder of the week. So yeah, keep watching Retrothon and enjoy it. But with that, I'm out of here. I'm going to bed. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you later.